Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Today we're looking at crabs on Mars. Now, this one's hit the press in the last couple of days. This is Mail Online, Science and Tech. As you can see, crab-like alien facehugger in cave is spotted on Mars in latest bizarre claim by conspiracy theorists. Right, so if you say there's life on Mars, that makes you a conspiracy theorist. And why this is actually said to be bizarre is beyond me, because actually some of us researchers have been finding similar things on Mars for years now. In fact, the first crab I published on from Mars, I think, was about 2.5 years ago, in 2013. I'll show you some of the previous finds that I've got in a minute. So I'm just going to show you this article. You can look this up. I'll put links to all these things in the description, so you can check these out. Now, this is a typical Daily Mail article saying that it's bizarre, and they've quoted someone here saying that it's probably a case of pareidolia. Here's the picture, and you can see what looks not like much like a crab, but possibly a crinoid, like a starfish type creature here. Now, it may not be, of course. It could be natural, but it might not be. It might be an actual creature, or a fossilized or freeze-dried animal that's dried onto the side of the rock as the water evaporated in GALE crater. So why and how the Daily Mail seem to know that there's nothing on Mars when they've done no research into the matter is absolutely beyond me. And they've got a guy here, Seth Shostak, director of the Center for SETI Research, said this is probably a case of pareidolia. This is the psychological response to seeing faces and other significant and everyday items in random stimulus. Now, this is not random stimulus. This is another planet, very similar to Earth. These are rocks which are pretty similar in many ways to ones we see on Earth. This was once full of water, this GALE crater. So if there was life on Mars, then I would fully expect to find this kind of thing in this area. This is absolutely normal for a planet that may have had life. What's wrong with that? And they've got a nice picture here from the Alien film, 1979. But they're trying to tell us that we're seeing stuff here that isn't there. Now, they've also got a picture of this lady on Mars, which is a really bad quality image and so blurred that it's probably just random kind of bits of rock that look like a lady. I don't think there's anything to that at all. I've looked at it up close, and it's so vague that it's probably just an optical illusion. It's a very poor quality image. But this one was pretty good, and a number of people have published this, so you can check that out. I'll have a link to this anyway. So, right, so let's have a look at some crabs. Now, the first one I found was this one. Now, I'm hoping this won't... Yeah, okay, it's loaded up. Now, this is going right back to 2013 when I started making videos. One of my first videos. This is Sol 173. You can see the number here at the bottom there. Okay, so I'm going to let that play through. Now, this is what looks like a living crab, not a dead or freeze-dried or fossilized one. It looks like some kind of hermit crab coming up. Now, this is the famous shiny lizard that everyone published a few years ago. Most of you have probably already seen this. I'll let that play through, and the crab's coming up any second now. Yeah, as it says, you may have seen this guy before. This is not something I discovered. I'm just showing some of the things in this area here. Okay, now there's the crab, just here. Now this looks like a living crab. It has legs. It's not in a death posture, and you can see legs here. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4 legs, possibly 5 there. It may be some sort of hermit crab. Now, the thing is with hermit crabs on Earth is that they can live on dry land, and they carry water in their shell, which they then keep themselves moist with, so that they can breathe. Now, there are types of crabs that live on land, many types. Most of them don't. Most live in fresh or salt water. But you can see when it's enhanced there that there looks to be legs on this thing. Okay, so that's one of my very earliest videos. It's not very clear, this one. It's quite a long way off. But you can see there's legs there and what looks like a shell. And there's a comparison coming up any second now. There we go, there's a hermit crab. Orange legs, hermit crab, and orange legs. Is that a hermit crab? Could be. Are those eyes? These two round protrudences here? Possibly. Possibly. I don't think that gets any clearer than that. There's the other two. You can check this video out. This is called Mars Living Animals, Crab and Lizard. This dates way back to 2013. This is a remake of my original video, which I did in March of that year. So this is actually a remake, which I did a slightly better job of. So you can check that out if you like. There's this one. Now this is a bit more recent. This one's Mars crab or cacti plant. I think this was from last year. This is about, October. This is also a remake. I think the original of this was done in August or September 2014. So I'll play that through a little bit. And you'll see this guy. Now, this may not be a crab. This may be some kind of cacti or something else even. But this is the raw image, and you can see here that there are these strange leg-type protrudences sticking out of this thing. It's more likely some kind of plant, but the thing is, it could be a fossilized marine plant that is hardened, much like coral or some kind of crinoid perhaps. Now crinoids can have anything from they're starfish type creatures really. They can have anything from 3 up to about 20 limbs, I think, on Earth anyway. I'm not sure what the maximum is, but generally they have 4 or 8 or something like that. But some have odd numbers, some have even. Now this to me looks more like some kind of plant, but it could be a crab or something else. I don't know. Very strange indeed, this one. One of my favourite finds, this. There's the raw. Oh, that's enhanced image. Okay. It doesn't get very clear when you get too close to it, and in fact it looks better smaller. If you get too big on the screen, it doesn't get any clearer. There's the raw image again. Now you can see it's quite a poor quality image, this. They've over-compressed and resized it like they do with all the Mars images, which is insane. So they've destroyed a lot of the detail, but you can clearly see that there are what look like limbs sticking out of this thing. Limbs or leaves or whatever you want to call them. Don't know. Pure speculation, of course. There we go. So that's about as clear as it will get on the screen. And rocks don't tend to have what look like leaves or arms sticking out. So there's that one. So that's the Mars crab or cacti plant video. There's a couple of different versions of this. There's a longer and a shorter one. This is the shorter one. There's also this guy. Now this is also from 2013. Now this may or may not be a crab, but I've called it Mars alien crab creature uncarved statue parts. Now this is Sol 50, so you're going right back to the early days of the rover here. And I'll just let this play through a little bit. Now this may just be a rock, but it looks a bit like a box crab to me. Now a box crab is basically called a box crab because it's box shaped. Simple as that really. What can I say? And here he is. Now I got heavily slated for this when I first published it, but it seems to have little legs sticking out here. Now that may be something to do with the low quality of the image, but who knows? Who knows? It may well just be a rock with a few bits of smaller rock in front of it, and it's not anywhere near 8 inches. Actually, it's probably only about 4 inches at maximum. So that's way too big, that measurement. Okay, now we should get a comparison in a second, and you'll see what I mean when you see the comparison. And of course, when you're dealing with such low quality images as these, all you can do really is speculate. But it does seem to have little legs sticking out here, perhaps. Don't know. This wasn't the clearest of them. But it does bear some resemblance in shape to one of these, especially this one here. As you can see, they've only got a couple of legs sticking out the front, and they're very thin and spindly, and a very chunky sort of body and eyes here, mouth. So could it be? Yes, it could. Now, crabs are extremely hardy creatures, and I've got some links up here which you can have a look. Part of the crustacean and arthropod family of creatures. Now, arthropods are the most prevalent creatures on Earth. They basically live in all conditions, underwater and on land, and include beetles and anything with an exoskeleton, basically. So you're talking things like spiders, crabs, and insects. They're all part of this primitive type of creature, type of branch of evolution, if you want to call it that. And they live everywhere, and they're the most prevalent creatures on Earth. So if there was any life left on Mars, this is the kind of thing I would expect to see that may have survived. If there was a cataclysm there, these things may have been underwater or buried in the sand and may have survived. And if there's water just below the surface in GALE crater, which there is, which I've shown in some of my previous videos, then they could probably extract water from the ground or burrow and perhaps keep themselves alive that way and breathe air from the moisture in their shell or on their legs. So there's also some other weird stuff in this video. It looks like a statue part here, just here, with a very straight edge to it. It looks like a piece of a statue or pillar that's fallen over. So you can check that out if you want. That's Mars alien crab creature and carved statue parts. Right, and there's this one. Now, this is not a crab, but it may well be a crab shell. Now, this is Sol 110. Now, you'll find this quite easily in Sol 110 because you can see this diagonal rock here at the bottom and this very clear black object here. I'll let that play through. Now, this will zoom in fairly quickly. And you can see there's something very odd here without doing anything at all to this image. Now, what I think this may be here is a crab shell, the top part of the shell from a crab that has got holes in it. Now, it looks a bit like a mask or something like that, and I think that's what I initially called it. Let's pause it there because that's raw. Now, I don't know if you've ever been fishing, but I've been many times with my brothers and stuff, and we caught crabs a lot of the time, often use them as bait. And if you, the carapace is called, is the top part of the shell, which you can pick off with a knife and extract the insides of the crab to use as bait or whatever. But basically, this looks like a crab carapace that's had parts of it broken off or poked through, possibly by a bird or something like that, where it's kind of poked through the shell and killed the crab or something. That's my interpretation of it. I may be completely wrong, but many crabs have these horn-like structures on the front of their shell. Yeah, it looks like a mask. It does look like a mask, but actually it's probably not. But it is rather odd that this part here is intact and then it's not completely broken. That is extremely strange. And I do think this is probably a crab carapace. And when you see the blacked out version there, you can see it much more clearly. So that is basically, may well be the top part of a crab shell that's come off and has been slightly broken here and poked through by possibly another creature that's attacked it and killed it and eaten it. And this is just the remains of it sticking in the sand. Now, I don't know if that gets any clearer than that. So let that play through. That's the raw image. Of course, getting too close doesn't help. It just pixelates, as usual. So that doesn't really get any clearer, I don't think. But yeah, very strange indeed. And it's in multiple images as well. It's in about 3 or 4 photographs, and it's very clear in all of them. This is a different angle. You can see it here. So that was quite interesting. So that looks like a crab shell. Okay. So if you want to check these out, you can check out my Mars Marine Creatures and Fossils playlist here. And that will have all these videos in it. You can flick through them. And there's lots of other similar looking fossils. There's what look like fish fossils and that kind of thing. I'm not sure if any of them are related or look like crabs. But there are lots and lots of similar marine type fossils and dead creatures in the area. So why the newspapers seem to think this is crazy to even think that, I don't know. Since when have they actually done any real research? Where is that article? It's up here somewhere. Oh yes, I've got a new find as well that looks like a crab. Now pay attention to this one here. Look at these two black eyes. Let's just get a bit closer there. Look at these two black eyes, and look at this upper part of the body here. Ignore the legs and everything else for now. Just look at the body and these two black eyes there. Now, if you've ever been fishing or beach combing, you will often see this part of the crab shell on its own and the legs all broken off. And often you'll just see the very top middle section here, the actual body of the crab with the carapace and everything. Okay, so imagine this with no legs and no claws that have been broken off. And we have this new find. Now this is from a very recent panoramic of Mars, which was only published very recently. I've got it up here. Now this is it. I'll show you it here. This is the panoramic, and you want to look right down in the bottom left corner here, right down here. Okay, so I've got it up in my processor here, and we're going to zoom in. Now some interesting rocks on this ridge here, large rocks here, which may or may not be anything of note, but they are interesting. One of them seems to have a load of gold on the side of it there. But when you look down here, now can I find it? There he is. This looks like a crab with the two black eyes and a shell. Now, I've done some enhancements to this. I've just clipped it out. Let's have a look here. And I'll zoom in. It's just here by this sort of weird triangular rock. Okay, there he is. Now this is completely raw. This is from a TIFF image, so it's not bad image quality, this. I'll flick through. There's a close-up. It doesn't get any sharper than that when you get closer. It doesn't get any better, but if you look at these two black pieces here, they look just like those eyes I just showed you here. Okay, that looks like a crab to me. Now I could be wrong, of course, but it does look like one, so why shouldn't it be? If this was once full of water, which it was, then I would fully expect to find crab remains and possibly even living crabs still on the surface in this area. Anyone who says otherwise hasn't done the research. And there's that rock again that I showed you with the gold up the side of it. Very interesting. I did an enhancement of that, just sharpened it up. I don't think it's anything particular, but it is interesting. Either way, I don't know. It could be a column of some building, who knows? It could be anything. But I thought that was quite an interesting structure, that. Anyway, and here it is. Here's the clip of the image. Let's zoom back in. So you need to go right down into the bottom corner here, right at the bottom of the image. There he is, just there. So that to me looks like another crab with the legs broken off. You can just about see some legs sort of structure sticking out there. Let's have another close look at that, at the enhancement. But of course, everything's buried, so we may only just be seeing the top of it. There may be some more legs buried under there, or they could have broken off. As it is often the case with these types of things on Earth. So there we go. Is that a crab? Could be. So it's starting to look like that my initial suspicions about the Gale crater were correct, and the fact that other people are starting to find the same thing is adding a little bit of credence to what I found well over 2 years ago, like this guy and this thing. I mean, this may be a plant, but it could be a crab stood on a rock with its legs flailed out or something. Don't know. But these look more like leaves, or perhaps a cacti, perhaps. But who's to say for sure? There's that one, the box crab, which isn't very clear. I appreciate that, but that's quite a long way off, and it's a very low quality image. But it could be. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. And this looks like a crab carapace or shell. And there's a whole load of other marine fossils here that I've found, including possible turtles and fish and all sorts of other things, marine creatures of all shapes and sizes. Loads and loads of interesting things here. So check that out when you've got time. Okay, and I'll put links to this stuff on Wikipedia for you just to check out. They can breathe in extremely low air conditions, and because they can carry water in their shell, many of them they keep the back legs wet where their gills are with water from their shell, and they can live out of water, some of them for days and days on end. And hermit crabs, of course, carry other creatures' shells and fill that full of water. So there we go. So there's that article. I'll put a link to that. Is it a crab? Possibly. Is it pareidolia? Possibly. Is it a crinoid? Possibly. Could be some kind of starfish. Could be some other type of creature that we know nothing of. But why the newspapers are so quick to dismiss this stuff is absolutely beyond me, because they've done no research. All they're doing is supporting people like NASA who just put everything down to pareidolia, and try to discredit any research done by anything or by anybody other than themselves. There's also the pyramid here as well. Or the pyramid stone, I should say. So there we go. Is it a facehugger type alien? Could be. Is it alive? Doubt it. It's probably dried onto this rock. It was probably underwater, like all this area was. So there we go. Thanks for watching, everybody. Nice to be back from my holiday. Back with a vengeance. We'll be publishing more stuff in the next few days, and I will see you soon.